Hi, everyone. Thank you, Soul Tribe, for joining Evan and myself today on the Galactic show. And it's so nice to have one of my best friends here and to have a conversation and to be able to hear two sides and two experiences and to be able to hear our audience's experience as well. So thank you for joining us here on Mason Jupiter, Evan. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Happy to be here. It's looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to it for a few days actually, since I knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, and I can't wait to hear about the topic that we've chosen, parasites, and talking about entities and things, because I know that you had a bit of an encounter the other day, and I can see there's a few people that are really looking forward to this, and some interesting info from Tim as well. A book on parasites, so you guys might want to check that out. And before we get too far into it, let me just bring up my window so I can share some things. So just reminding you guys that we have it's Eclipse season. So Elena has Fate and Destiny, so she'll be doing the beautiful crystal bowl. So this does expire. I think we are on September 13th today if you are in Canada. So you might still have, or if you're in the States, you might still have that last little window. But yeah, you can see Sophie and myself here for readings. At the moment, I would say the Mystical Oracle reading is the one that most clients are going for. So you get an aura drawing. You also get me to tap into psychic questions, whether it's on a 3D level about work, relationships, or if it's something a little bit more mystical. And we also love it when you guys hit that notification button and give us thumbs up. And thank you for all the shares and subscribes. You can see that we're slowly getting up there in terms of subscribers. And I also just want to remind you that Evan and his dad, Stephen, have a sign up. So you can go in here where I've left the little window open on your website, because you guys update your newsletter regularly. You send out information and things. I'll let you talk about that, Evan, a little in your background if people are joining us for the first time and seeing you, because I know most of the audience is familiar.
Yeah, so this is where most of our articles are. So we've got a few different categories. So we do cover a few different areas. That's our next event there. So that's a roundtable. So that will be Alexander, Dr. Charles, and Paul Wallace, and us and Leah. So yeah, we'll be talking about all sorts of things: Atlantis, Lemuria, Plato, the state of archaeology and history in the world, and how the mainstream version of history is quite narrow.
Yeah.
We all come with a broader perspective of what's going on in a multidisciplinary kind of view, which I think is sorely lacking. So it should be a very cool event with all of us.
And you guys always bring new information to the surface, new insight, and you get some really interesting speakers. And it's going to be great. You've got Paul Wallace there as well, who's a beautiful person, and Leah. But yeah, I've just shared the link, so you guys will be able to copy and paste that across, or head on over to Ev's channel and find that there. It definitely is one to sign up for, or to hit that little notification button. So talking on our topic tonight, Ev, do you maybe want to start out by sharing about the house clearing that you did the other day and a bit about your experience with that?
Yeah, so that's the most recent entity parasite kind of thing that's happened. So friends of mine were moving into a new rental, and they knew that there'd been a death of a little boy there. So they thought of me. And to maybe do like a clearing or something like that, which is fair enough. Which honestly, if you're moving into a rental that someone else has been in, or a new house, or a new house, or whatever, it's probably not a bad idea to do a bit of a clearing anyway, whether there be a metaphysical aspect or not. Just because, as we know, we all have different energies, and especially if you're in a rental, you don't know who's been there before.
Sorry, Ev, can you maybe sit just a little bit closer to the mic? I'm not sure if it's as you were saying before, the mic might be a bit off today.
What about now? Is that all right?
Perfect radio voice coming through clear. Thank
All
you.
right, I just tilted it a bit more. Yeah, this mic doesn't like me.
Yeah.
Every time I'm like, change the mic, you have another one, but I just get so distracted with everything else, clearing houses of potential ghosts, etc. Yeah, so they got me over. Mind you, I couldn't find the house because it was the middle of the night. Eventually got there. So I have like an EMF reader. You've probably seen them in some shows. I know they've pulled them out in Supernatural. And then if you watch some real life kind of paranormal investigative shows, you'd probably see them.
Yeah, I've got one.
Noises, right? So I have one of those. So I thought, well, first things first, let's run around the property. Yeah, that's them. Actually, I should have probably grabbed mine in front of the camera, but it's in the other room. But anyway, there you go. Okay. Yeah, there's all sorts. My one does 2 magnetic ranges, electricity, and then microwave. So, yeah, we're walking around the property, nothing. And I'm like, oh, well, this is all right. I mean, mind you, I didn't get that please leave feeling yet either, which I've had before, but not this time. So I'm like, at this stage, I'm like, oh, well, maybe there's nothing going on. And then went room to room inside the house. And then funny enough, it did do its thing, right? But in between 2 bedrooms in the wall. So that's where it was kind of, saying something was going on. And I'm like, okay, so there's something in the wall, basically, because as I got closer to the wall, the more it hit. And then I'm looking around for PowerPoints, those kind of things, and there weren't any on either side of the wall between the 2 bedrooms. So I'm like, okay, there's something here. And my 2 friends are just looking wide-eyed, like, and then, so I thought, well, I'll pull out I've got like a pendulum, like crystal pendulum. So, you can ask yes or no questions. You do have to be very, specific about the question you ask. And I'm always like, can that be taken the wrong way or whatever? So I'm like, okay, is there a spirit in this house? And I said, yes. And I said, is the young boy that passed, are they here? And it said, no. So I'm like, oh, well, there you go. Like, you would have assumed that because I think it happened about 6 months ago, but no.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, there's another spirit in this house. And they're like, oh, well, the house has been here since the early 50s. So what are we looking at? Nearly 70 to 80 years now. It could be anyone. And I said, well, do you want me to try to find out specifically who's here? And at this point, they're just like, no, could we just smoke the house, please? I'm like, sure. But you need to kind of, which we did. There was a nice foggy atmosphere because we had all the sage, and I grow mugwort, which some people call black sage, and then that Brazilian wood thing, Palo Santo.
Oh, yeah.
So we had all that going on. There's smoke everywhere. We can barely see. And I'm like, I think we smoked the house out. But I did say, watch the behavior of your dogs and horses, and, look out for certain things like the breathing in the back of the neck, which I've had several times, not at that place, but other places. What else? The cold voids where spaces, you walk down the hall and you just get cold all of a sudden and then warm again, those kind of things. So just, keep, your mind open for that stuff. And then if that starts to happen or stuff moves around in the house, then we might need to call in some other people I know, which are much better at moving spirits along to where they need to go and entities along, whether they be, nice, bad, or something in the middle. And I've assisted in that process several times, but I haven't actually been at the forefront moving that spirit on. But to give an example, I mean, that's a pretty mild case. But to give you an example of something a little bit more extreme, a friend of mine had a place in town, and it was funny when she was in the house, you wouldn't feel a thing. Like, it was a pretty neutral feeling. Like, there's nothing going on. The moment she was gone, it was like all open, right? It was all happening to the point where she kept trying to get people to stay there, and they'd stay 1 or 2 nights. And like, I don't want to house sit. Like, it just, even if they're not into this stuff, they just hear banging and doors opening, shutting, and then like fingernails on walls the whole night, and they just didn't sleep good. And I did try a couple of nights there, and like,
Wow.
so, and then it got to the point where I had to feed a cat, and then I forgot one night. I went, the cat. So I'm driving over at 9:30 at night. I'm like, oh no, I have to go in there now. Middle of the night. Great. So I'm in there, and I'm like, okay, so I don't think you want me here, but I'm just going to feed the cat, okay? And literally, they were literally pushing me out the door. Like, I could feel
my
him
gosh.
pushing me, and then tap, tap, tap as I'm feeding the cat. I know, I'm working as fast as I can to get out of here. And I did tell someone I know that is much better at working out what's going on. She said, yeah, it's a whole thing. So what happened was the little girl died, and then the parents had problems letting go, and they're all there. So when my friend was in the house, they loved that because that was still their house, because she couldn't see them, right? So they were quite comfortable with her because it was still their house when she was there. But as soon as someone else was in there, they're like, what are you in our house for? This is our house. Like, get out. But funny enough, the poor dog would stare at this crack between the skirting board and the wall, like in the floor. And as you just sit there staring at this hole for hours and hours and hours, and you'd walk past and be like, that's a bit. And the dog was like quite hectic to deal with. The moment she moved on to a different house, the dog's now wonderful, like well behaved. It's used as a therapy dog. But it just goes to show you what that can do to animals as well, and how that affects them. But I mean, it's still not that kind of like horror film. I mean, there's a little element of that in there, but it's still not really dark. It's you don't want to be there. It does feel uncomfortable. But to my knowledge, unfortunately, you can't really, it's really hard to, I'm going to bring a team of people to move these spirits on when the person that owns the house is just like, I don't believe in this stuff. Please don't be here. So, I feel bad because I drive past all the time. Like, they're still there. They've been there since the 30s.
Oh my gosh, such a long hold on it. And some of these spirits that are passed on, it's almost psychically like the same scenes are still being played out. Actually, I saw Beetlejuice the other day. One of my girls wanted to see it. So we went and saw that. I think you'll love it, Ev. But there was a scene with, and I don't want to spoil anything, but like you see residual hauntings of the same scenes being played out like it's on a loop. So I do want to show some things to do with the parasite side of things. So if we're kind of setting up the preface for this talk around, parasites and perhaps like entities, sometimes parasitically will feed off people. We hear about, vampires, and there's so many stories coming out about New Orleans at the moment to do with vampires. So that would be a great topic to talk on. But I just want to share, this was something interesting because when I set a topic or when Spirit decides, let's talk about this, things just fly past me to what we're relating to talk about. So Elon Musk said Toxoplasma gondii is a danger to democracy. So it's interesting because that's the toxoplasmosis parasite that you get from cats and kitty litter and things. Yeah, so there is cures for it, but it does get into the brain. So if we're looking at how our earth realm might be perhaps a little bit controlled, you have certain echelons of maybe parasitic type entities, or perhaps other beings that have come in interdimensionally. And I did originally say to you, we can talk about the black goo associated with the ring and how that wants to amalgamate and things as well. But I just thought I'll show a couple of little things that were just kind of interesting.
The toxoplasma is quite fascinating because I think they found out a lot of people that are in jobs that are life-threatening have it in them. It's like it feeds off that adrenaline almost, and that near-death kind of thing, that it almost needs that to multiply by putting the host in dangerous situations. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like
The rat in front of the cat, it'll put itself there as the target, and the same with the ants that get that. I'm not sure if it's the cordyceps mushroom. I know the cordyceps will get into the caterpillar, but yeah, there's an ant parasite that will also put itself as prey in order to get into the host.
So yeah, looking at those, the modus operandi for those things that we can measure and quantify, imagine what's going on in the metaphysical as well. I'm assuming it'd be a very similar system. Zombie fungus. Yes, that show, The Last of Us, based off the game, is about that cordyceps mushroom. Yeah.
It is. And I mean, it is good for you. It's like going to turn you into a zombie. So yeah.
I mean, not the zombie, the mushroom.
And I found this video, which was really interesting. I'm just going to play this shortly. This is, and if we think about sound and frequency and how we can clear things out, I've just got a few short clips to play. So this was controlling roundworms. Yeah, so scientists control this worm's brain using sound waves. So they're doing it with ultrasound. So if we're thinking about using frequency, whether it's through intention, words, vowels, tuning forks, other things that we can perhaps drive these things out or drive them insane. I won't play too much of that. So interesting, hey?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. And I've got another one to share as well. I might have showed you this one actually. This one is a rife machine. This is one of my favorite videos. I'm a geek for science, and I know you're the same, like we're both into it. So let me just play this one. And this one, I'm not sure if it has sound, but so I used to own a rife machine, as you know. And so this one, they put the rife next to the microscope for 15 minutes. What you notice is that frequency, you can see it sort of like around, like wiggling when the frequency is hitting. It does eventually die. So yeah, we definitely want to be doing, things like parasite cleanses and things like that. Have you seen these ones before, Ev?
No, not this particular one.
So you can see it's still around here where I'm circling, but you can see that it's slowly dying.
It's definitely not moving like it was before.
And there was one more. This one is also a rife machine. Let me just see if I can find where it is. Here it is. This one is my favorite, actually. So they hit the actual bacteria, and you'll see that it implodes and sort of explodes and turns inside out. So if you're working with things like Lyme's disease, which have like a hard lobster-like shell, they're really hard to get out with herbs and things alone. So some of these parasites are really, quite hard to eliminate out of the body. So if we're looking to frequency and things that we can do, it's really important to keep our frequency high to make these things, or to make an inhospitable place for these things to reside within you. So it does matter like what you eat, where you're at vibrationally, mentally. Yeah, you can see these just imploding. Yeah, interesting. Have you had much experience like with the parasite side of things?
Yeah, so it's funny. Okay, so on more of a physical level, when I was doing a candida cleanse, thank you, antibiotics. Still struggle with that now to this very day. One course, right? Anyway, got rid of it, and it's funny. the moment the candida left, this parasite popped up, and my acupuncturist was working on it and was going, wow. I went, what do you mean, wow? It's like, it's been lying dormant for 4 years, waiting. So the moment the candida had left, it's gone, hello, I've got some space now, party time. And yeah, it hit me hard. But it had been dormant for about 4 years, just sitting
And it
there
can,
waiting.
and I think you're experiencing like chronic fatigue-like symptoms, inflammation, aches and pains, migraines. Like it really can be like a huge onslaught of this stuff. And if we think about it, like toxic sludge.
Iron deficiency can leave you feeling run down.
It's something playing in the background.
Switch
It must have gone onto an ad.
Oh, wow.
So we just
yeah,
take it out. It's gone.
Yeah, so no, it's definitely those parasites, right? They're very pesky. And then because I do a bit of landscaping on the side, I get annihilated by ticks. So, and they've left me with years, if not decades, worth of crap to deal with, and I'm working with a biofeedback machine and a naturopath to kind of clear layers upon layers, and they've left me with so many different pretty much always chronic fatigue, aching joints. It's the same kind of symptoms over and over and over, and then she removes one and then the next one pops up. Remove that one, and yeah, it's all from a parasite, which literally is ticks. And it amazed me that there were still doctors running around until recently and we don't have Lyme's here, and I'm like, well, what the hell is this then? Like, I know so many people. The other one, because I'm pretty much veggie, the other one that at least people with, if say that tick's been on a cow, then the person that gets the virus can't eat beef. So afterwards, it just makes them sick. So it's funny.
Yeah, it's interesting, that one.
That one as well. Like, it'll make you unable to eat the animal that was last on before it bit you.
And it's interesting how like a lot of these parasites will, hook into the person's nervous system. And with some of the ones that we see within animals, they can literally kill the creature and hijack and take over and operate the zombie body like of bugs and things. I find that fascinating. Bless you.
Yes. I mean, look, it's they're everywhere, and I dare say most people probably have them in them, whether they be an etheric one, or I've had a few of them removed too, in healings and whatnot, and they've pulled out stuff. Some of them have been deliberately put in me too, on purpose. So there is a dark magic aspect to that, where there are dark people that will actually insert that into people. And, that was obviously going on probably for, even in tribal cultures, I know there was a bit of that going on as well. So that's another aspect of it, that people like to weaponize them.
And interesting you use that word, that very choice word, because when we look into the last couple of years and some of the alternative treatments to the what that has been talked about over the last lockdown period and things, anti-parasite treatments were quite popular as you and I were getting into them. And I did want to share, because I know part of the question maybe, sorry, I'm just going to put this up bigger for a second so people can see. Things like this are really, really good. I always say do your own research. We're not making any claims or anything like that. I'm just going to leave that up there and not really mention too much about it, but you want to make sure that you're taking a binder. This one is really cheap. It's available at Walmart for $20. You can buy it on iHerb if you're in Australia, like we are, for $50. This is much more effective. I've seen worms come out of clients and things out of people that are taking it, even locally, it's amazing. The creatures that come out with this particular one, 28 days, take it once a day, really simple. I also just want to share our little window. So when we look into the Rife machine and things like that, were perhaps bells like old versions of technology using frequency. So we know that a lot of the bells were taken away and destroyed, and there was perhaps like falsities around the metal being used for other things. I have also heard recently, and I wanted to ask you this, Ev, have you heard of with people are saying that with the bells that reptilians didn't like bells, and that's why they got rid of bells. Have you heard of that one?
I haven't, but that really fascinates me. I wonder if that's a frequency thing too, that a sound aspect of the ringing bells.
Yeah, interesting. Hey,
Yeah,
but
no,
yeah,
there's
amazing
probably
bells.
something in that. Funny enough, you put up the wormwood. I was going to suggest wormwood. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
wormwood, black clove, walnut. This one has neem as well, and it really there's a different vibrational kind of quality that this one you feel it within like 10 minutes, whereas other more expensive cleansers it can be weeks into it and you don't always feel things. So you've just got to do what works for you. Pal d'Arco is another great one,
right.
especially for candida and things.
Yeah, it's we do have a few tools which are great. It's just finding what works for best for each person, kind of. But yeah, and I think it's one of those things that we just kind of forget. It's probably something that we all need to do a lot more of.
Yeah.
And we all get a bit lazy and forget to do it. But I was you should see me the other night. I had every necklace, ring, bracelet, crystal known to man. I was like Mr. T. I was like driving around and it's like swinging around and nearly pulling my eye out as I was going around corners, and I'm like, yeah. But I mean,
was this for the clearing?
Yeah,
cool.
I had every necklace I have on me for that, but as it turned out, it wasn't that intense. But you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, and I wonder whether we can create etheric metaphysical parasites as well, like social media. Like you wonder certain things, but then have a parasitic aspect to them. You're like, did we make that ourselves just through collective input?
And thought form, because we know like a lot of these more vampiric ones feed off fear energy. It's in like Monsters Inc. where they're harvesting the loosh. Oh, speaking of necklaces, one of my gorgeous best friends, she got me this, and it's one of the EE system necklaces. You can see, before the energy field and then what it looks like under Kirlian photography after. So when you were saying about crystals, I'm like, oh yeah, things like that. And, like Michael Lee Hill's energy charging plate that definitely restructures and charges water. We've got so many different things to go with
Shanghai.
frequency. Yes, Shanghai is a good one too. And have you got anything else that you can think of in terms of like when you've done energy clearings on houses and that? Is there anything that's sort of like an essential toolkit or even coming at it from working with the rocks and things like you and your dad do? Is there anything from more of an original people way or a technique that you could maybe share with us that's used in clearing or perhaps divining in and finding like what is safe space?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, especially with the rocks. That's been an experience of but we kind of know how to work a little bit better now. Mind you, just recently one got very upset, and yeah, you just have to. I mean, that seems to be part of the process. You got to deal with the after effects of that. That was a rough night. But
and this is one of the rocks, isn't it? Not one of the crystals.
Yeah, it got a little bit left out and a little bit jealous. So it sounds strange, but they almost have personality, and they have a consciousness. It's probably a little bit different to ours, but you know, consciousness comes in many different forms, right? Yeah, they're traditional. I know.
And sorry, I've just popped up the picture so people can see what you're talking about.
So that circle you see there, that's where we'll put people for healings and cleansers, and you know, 99% of people that come out and get, you know, with some sort of experience or a healing or something. Or, you know, like, I don't need ayahuasca anymore, I have the rocks, you know, things like that. Like, to, you know, they'll see people that haven't, you know, that have passed over and things like that. So when you put them all together, of course they have a consciousness and an energy, and plus they're like a storage device. So they hold everyone that's ever held them. It is imprinted in them. And I've just been able to start working with them. It's taken years. So still here, because that was one of those moments like, well, it's your turn to touch them. And I'm like, well, I either touch them and die or touch them and live. I'm still here. But yeah, so I'm assuming, they would have been used as tools, and every culture would have something like this. Some of these rocks are found all around the world, mind you. So I imagine a lot of those kind of First Nations cultures would have been using these rocks. But then, as you can see, we have rings too.
Yes. Do you maybe want to talk about this little beauty?
Yes. So
precious.
Yes, pretty much. You can think of Lord of the Rings. It's. Well, see, he was a linguist. Tolkien was a linguist, so he was steeped in Scandinavian mythology. So, yeah, I think you're looking at a common narrative, and that's what he actually. And obviously, he put his flourishes on it, and we all love Lord of the Rings, right? But yeah, the basic story, involves Lemuria, Atlantis, and they've become receptacles. Some are tainted, as you know, from first-hand experience, Solreta. Some are not. Some are balancing. Some are communication devices to that realm.
And definitely.
We've actually taken them to labs to get quantified. And some of them have non-periodical table elements in them. Some have weird metals and offcuts of smelting that have only been in production for a couple of decades, yet they're in this ring that was buried that's hundreds, if not thousands of years old. So, and each of them hold some sort of metaphysical magic as well. But some of them have been used badly, and we've had to destroy. One of them, it got that bad. So it's now in many, many little pieces, which, you know, the average kind of historian are like, oh my God, you've broken an artifact, but it's just like, it was going to get bad. Like, we didn't have a choice.
You see how that ends in a lot of the movies. You know, when it's like, I'll just let the bad guy go, you know, maybe it'll be fine. Or maybe we'll just walk off after it looks like he's dead. And then you get, you know, what is it, movie number 2 or 3 or 4?
3 or 4, but you've had one in your hand, right? And
I have, and I know I've described it on a couple of shows, but when your dad placed it in my hand, I felt all of a sudden like it was trying to merge and almost like sink into my hand. I then saw hexagonal type structures, and I saw it wanting to amalgamate into my blood. And I did have the message communicated that it's pretty much looking for a host. And over I can't remember how many years, like thousands and thousands and thousands of years, or since pretty much like the beginning of our time. Oh, and also this black goo actually got an alchemist to make it, was what I saw with the ring. So really interesting, because when I saw the structure years and years later, which was only a couple of years ago, but like a few years, maybe 2 years after holding it, I saw it was the same structure as graphene oxide, which I found fascinating because we now see under the dark field microscopes or the nanotechnology moving together, certain frequencies like 5G will set it off as well. So I find that interesting that they're bringing, this technology that seems to excite this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's almost like a conduit for all these things, right? Like a medium for these things to operate in. So yeah, I wouldn't want that in me.
And I just remembered, do you remember after I touched it? Let me see if I've got it here. I do. On Guard was what I went and washed my hands with.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is funny because I didn't realize till I was doing a show on like cleansing aura sprays and that yesterday. It's actually herbs in it that are anti-parasite. So you've got clove, cinnamon, eucalyptus, rosemary, cinnamon bark as well. So things that are really good for clearing out parasites and making sure that, we're protecting ourselves and immune system. So yeah, I think this is the stuff to use maybe after handling some of these ancient artifacts.
Oh, without a doubt. And yeah, it's funny because I think a lot of them have been misused, to be honest, and I think some were placed in hiding almost, waiting for a bit of time, which probably isn't now. But then, all these rings have popped up when things are pretty intense as well. So it's like it's almost attracted to that, and then I do think that it all happens in its own timeline when it's meant to. But it's. And I was reading an article. There's black goo found in some of the mummies and all sorts of things. Like it does tend to pop up. Let me see if I can find that. It does tend to pop up a lot in different things, and it's just like, what is this? Was it in the X-Files?
I think there was. I mean, it's been a while since I've watched the X-Files, but I was just thinking of the movie Venom. It definitely was in. And remember, like Venom, I think was an alien black goo that comes in and then it infects someone like a parasite. And even watching the new Alien movie the other night, they actually like had this black goo stuff that came. I won't give it all away, but it totally mirrors like what we've seen into people, if you know what I mean, over the last couple of years as well. So it's like, yeah, it's crazy stuff. If you guys haven't seen the new Alien movie, it was a good one. And even down to, I was just trying to look for, do you remember the other week I sent you that the worm that just like appeared, that was just like in the background here falling from the sky?
Yeah, that was pretty, like,
that
like
was strange.
You could really see it, right?
Yeah. And I think all it is, certain people, like we generate, whether it's a lot more electromagnetic energy or whether there's something within like our consciousness or field that holds space where it makes it visible for other people to see things like that. Because I've always had weird, strange things happen. And I know you have too. And I know other people have witnessed strange things like around you and I. So whether we're just kind of cracking the veil open to see, different things come through into this reality, but I still don't know 100% what that was, but it was like a plasma worm.
Yeah. Oh, so the black goo on the Egyptian burials, they've done an analysis on it, mass spectrometer. So that's animal fats, plant oils, tree resin, beeswax, and bitumen.
Oh, okay.
And they coat stuff in it. So, yeah, I'll have to look a bit more into that. But yeah, there's heaps and heaps of articles about black goo and the mummies.
And I just saw Carol saying that it was in X-Files, so I think we might have to do some more homework and go back and watch. Good excuse to watch that.
That's going to be really tough, isn't it?
Yeah, fun homework. And I can see Deb's asking about the worms. Yeah, I haven't actually checked into it yet, but knowing that we exist in like 90-something% plasma around it, I do think that we live in a holographic universe. So when I film certain UFOs and things, some of them are called Abani, which are like live biological entities that are up there in our ionosphere, and there's more electricity up there too. So whether it's that they're existing or showing themselves when there's more electricity or like a biofield output, I don't know. That was sort of something that's just, sitting in my consciousness, questioning it. But there's also the jellyfish and things too. But yeah, I do prefer the fairies.
Funny enough, if I spend enough time staring into the sky, it's not like blue or clouds. It's actually shimmering and translucent, and yeah, it's electrical. I can see that permanently, and even in rooms at low light. But I will occasionally see, like what you just showed me the video of.
Yeah, that's
Those
same.
translucent, wormy-looking things, and I have to ignore it. Otherwise, I'll just spend my whole time going.
Well, that's what I did in school. It's just like looking at all the little worms and the little, there was all these little clear kind of like orbs. I know like with eye doctors and that they call them floaters, but I used to see them outside of my eye. Like I know the difference between a floater where you can see it, on your lens compared to like a floater that's actually existing in that plasma. So if we're looking at that and we're working with plasma, we can actually anchor and bring things in and out, whether it's like good stuff or bad stuff. Plasma is kind of like a conduit. Or if we think about the ocean, fish don't realize they're living in the ocean, just like perhaps we don't realize that we're living in plasma.
Let alone a holographic plasma universe or simulation, or we could be some higher entities, Sims.
That was a conversation my son and I were having the other day walking, was all about simulated reality. And it's so funny because he thinks I'm so woo. But then like he opened up talking about like what his theories and things were. So I might have to get him to have a chat with you. And I can see Tim saying the fairies are our allies in the struggle against parasite infection. So yeah, I guess it's really important. And you and I both eat very healthy. So, we do what we can on our physical to try and guard ourselves from this. It is really interesting when you look into certain foods that are more prone to parasites. So, things like raw sushi, we see some bodybuilders that have like fistfuls of worms coming out of them. Now, there are many different types of parasites. So I wanted to also put up this as, we can use nature. This is what can help and protect and prevent. The papaya is really, really good for destroying things. You can use pumpkin seeds as well. We know garlic keeps away the vampires as well as good to keep away the parasites. Interesting, that one. And this one, I remember telling you about doing this one. This one is like a supercharged one, and it is the Zen cleanse. So this is a 1-day cleanse. It's really easy to do. You set your alarm and you do like your powder combined with the liquid. This actually removes bowel ropes, and so you'll find it under zencleanse.com. Let me just bring up this. So this is the one I was telling you about, that you have like 1 to 2 feet length bowel ropes come out of you. So it does help to, I guess, unclog. And there was a little video that I had. I think I decided not to show it because it was quite graphic. But essentially, it was
I think I know the
video. I'll share it with you later. But it was like a meter long thing come out of someone in a what do you call it? A colon cleanse treatment, and then another 2-meter thing came out of them. So this person would have felt dramatically different. And I did see there was a question around, will the removal of parasites help our vibration? Definitely. And a lot of these things come in, just like when we're under psychic attack, they don't usually come in when we're in heightened state. It comes in when the environment is right for them to make a home. What would you say around that question, Ev?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm assuming there are certain things. Well, I'd say fear would help parasites. So it's those kind of more negative emotions. So you would then go, there's certain things out there, the media, whatnot, that want to create that lower vibration, which then can let you can see the process. The parasites can get in easier, and if you're suffering from parasites, you're going to be a little bit more docile as a society to deal with, because you're going to be feeling like crap, basically.
And isn't it interesting how there's more infestation over the last couple of the years with everything going on, that we're seeing babies. I know a naturopath friend, she's seen clients that are babies whose parents had taken that. And then even as sort of a newborn, parasites were coming out in the nappy of the baby or the diaper if you're in the States. Some great recommendations as well from Amy, and also Rainbow Sun. And yeah, Luke Corona's got a glow about him, as did Dr. Sebi, was so wise. But definitely Luke Corona, it's a little bit harder to find his stuff, but on YouTube, there's more information on him. Is there anything you find to do with, like, when you were fighting with the Candida side of things? Because I know a lot of people will struggle with it on and off for years. Do you feel it was kind of like the frequency devices that have been making the biggest benefit?
Yeah, to be honest, that seems to be, because I tried all sorts of things, but that seems to keep it under control a lot better than a lot of other stuff. So, yeah, those feedback machines are pretty amazing, with the rods that you hold on to and everything. And just finding out things that probably weren't helping, that I just didn't realize were an issue. So it's really trying to get everything into that balance, right?
Yeah.
I think it's
And I think, as we were saying before, and I can see Jake saying the same thing, does the overly processed food help have parasites? Under microscopes, it has been found in all sorts of like processed foods, bars, traveling also. What I did find traveling is Chinese herbs are really good. There's like these black little cannonballs I was telling you about that, going to Bali, all my friends were sick for a couple of days. I was sick for 20 minutes. So if you are traveling, always have on hand, and always check in, with your healthcare provider and that. But I know personally, I will take charcoal, On Guard, probiotics, and if I'm going to somewhere more like Bali, I will take the little cannonballs. I don't know what they're called, the Chinese name for them, but Chinese food poisoning herbal tablets are really, really good.
Funny enough, you usually have to take them in warm water, and before meals or well afterwards or something. But if you're going to India, it's funny enough, everybody who goes to India decides, I'm the phone a friend when they're dying from food poisoning. Like, I'll phone Evan and tell him about it. I'm like, why me? Like, I don't want to know. But look, and I guess when you do, we're used to certain parasites and certain bacteria. When you do go to a different country, it's going to be different. People of that country, their systems are used to that. So it's always going to be a shock to the system.
And that's interesting, because when you look into like the different, I guess, strands of or strains of bacteria or parasites and things that you can pick up in different places, what's interesting is fecal transplants. So when people have got bad gut bacteria and you can transplant the feces from one person into another one, they will even take on. So say you get a fecal transplant from someone with depression, that characteristic will also transfer over. So I think gut health really is a reflection on our mental state and mental health. And we know, serotonin's produced, in the gut as well.
Yeah, and John's got an interesting comment there about cancer.
Let me pop that one
parasite.
up.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. There are people looking into that.
There's a book written on it. Yeah, Dr. Hulda Clark wrote one, and it's called The Cure for All Cancers. And everything, so say, for example, like with prostate cancer, that usually is little flukes that get into the prostate. And we know that like these parasites have to poop and pee, and, how does your body actually get rid of all the toxins that come from this? And MS, they've found that some of the shadows that were on the spinal column or even the brain of some of the MS patients in autopsy were actually parasite nests and worms. So yeah, I think that the dots haven't been connected yet with integrative and the allopathic side of things. Yeah, it's crazy, hey?
Yeah, and then activated charcoal.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and have you noticed, like, with the house clearings and things, or because, like, the issues, like, with the ticks and that, because you're in the beautiful climate as opposed to Melbourne, you're in the warmer weather. I know Dr. Robert Cassar swears by, like, putting crystals, so he'll have, like, giant pieces like this. He'll actually, like, cement it into the wall of his house, and he reckons he gets, like, less pests and parasites and things around and less flies. Have you noticed anything, like, with crystals, or any friends that have a lot of crystals?
Yeah, I'm going to look into that. There's some supposedly a friend put some black tourmaline into my walls in several spots. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And then funny enough, the best defense I've had against ticks is kind of a Wiccan friend made blend of essential oils, and I've had one since I've been using it. Like
Oh, wow.
balance
Do you know
and
what's
place.
on there?
I've got the recipe. Well, I don't have the recipe. I have the list of what's in it, but it's about 6 things. Because I tried. Everyone's like, "Oh, lavender oil." No, it had to be a blend. And because I was using Bushman's with the DEET in it, I'm like, "This is so toxic." But I can't deal. Yeah, so I haven't bought a can of that since I started using it. But my
Yeah.
fear is when I run out, I'm like, "Hello, friend. Can you get your friend to then make this again for me? I'm now like dependent upon it. Oh, good God."
Is there anything you think is oh, and I can see Deb saying about the crystals. So he leaves, like, the front beautiful part exposed, so it becomes artwork of the house, which I'm sure you'd be able to extract if you needed to move. But I was going to ask you, Ev, do you notice, like, a difference between, is there something maybe on a gut microbiome level or a blood level that makes you more of a snack for some of these the ticks and that to go to you? Do you think?
Yeah, apparently there's something. I know with the mosquitoes, there's something they're looking for. It's vitamin B. It's one of the vitamin Bs or something, a deficiency.
Oh, sorry, we just lost you for a second. The
Um,
sound.
Yeah, I know with mosquitoes, it's something to do with vitamin B, one of the vitamin Bs. But ticks, yeah, I do wonder. I mean, I got done as a 2-year-old, so in the crib, and I nearly died. So it's only,
Ah,
I think it's from that for me, because I've had other friends and they'll be next to me, they'll have bites, they'll pull them off, they're fine. So once again, I'm just a little bit screwed, but there would be others, because I'm not the only one that's been suffering from tick, and I don't think we really understand what they're capable of.
yeah, it
And
is interesting when
it's
you look
funny.
at sort of from the whole, system down. And thank you, Carol, for finding the episode. So season 4, episode 14, and season 6, episode 14, it looks like, and many more. Awesome. That'll be fun to catch up on later.
I know when someone was trying to kill me, it happens a lot. Anyway,
That's
on one of
interesting.
the curses, it was actually 40 tick bites. I went to sleep after salting the windowsills because I knew we were under attack, and smoked everything out, and then went to bed, and then woke up with 40 ticks on me in the middle of winter. It was raining. I literally had been outside for 2 minutes, with the windowsill thing, and I'm like, come on.
Yeah, it is interesting, like, how sometimes, psychic attack and things will perhaps, like, if your system's a bit run down or weakened, things, or they use it as an opportunity. I think it's an opportunist type situation with that as well. So I guess, we've got to make sure we're doing the psychic protection, that we're doing the cleanses, that we're maybe incorporating some of the pumpkin seeds, or, garlic and the different herbs. What I also find is that heavy metals tend to be higher as well in some people that have suffered from parasites. And I know maybe even your mercury poisoning from when you were younger too could have perhaps just made it that your systems had like a little bit more to deal with.
Yeah, my hint to people is don't drink mercury.
Yes, it's not a good idea.
No, I thought it was a candy cane thing, like a Christmas thing, and I bit the end off and drank it.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Even
You're
as a
so lucky that
2-year-old.
you're still here. Or we're lucky that you're still here too, to have you here. And I
But,
can see your question. Oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I think it's when it comes to parasites, whether it be physical or metaphysical, it's just like.
Oh, sorry, we've lost your sound again.
This microphone, it's here, I swear. But yeah, I can't hurt to have as many lines of defense as possible, I think, because we may be looking at the thing that's behind everything else, like whether it be cancer, psychic attack, whatever. It's the same kind of conduit that we're being attacked with, this parasitic energy organism, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting too, the choice of words. Like I know Elon also said, the woke mind virus. It's interesting that, certain programs and things, what if it's like a virus in the system? And not referring to that, but just, certain mindsets, say like poverty consciousness. Maybe that's a virus within the system that's put in a program, or, we're put in with slave mentality program in school. It's like a virus that's inserted into our consciousness. So many different ways that parasites and programs and things get in. And I won't read this question out loud from Maria, but really, really great question and something to be super aware of too with some of these engineered little critters. So yeah, good to know to protect.
At least we're becoming more aware of it. I think that's the first step. People weren't really talking about this 15 years ago. Not much.
And with more gallons and that too, a lot of people were considered, oh no, it's just in their mind. But when you get skin samples under microscopes, you can actually see some of these nanoparticles and fibers. So yeah, and they do attack people mentally. It literally is, so irritating from them on a mental level. And you'll like this statement Lorianne said, because I know you and I both love Moroccan food. So yeah, you could just eat Moroccan food a lot more often. I don't think that's a bad solution. How about you, Ev?
Sounds pretty good to me. Yep.
Yeah. And water quality is super important as well. Definitely.
Yeah. Look, I am looking at any whole house filtration with ultraviolet filtration and stuff like that. Because, yes, I've got rainwater, but things still happen in the sky. Like, yeah. And I've
even
been
the sprays and things too.
And I've been out mowing and that, and then you just don't feel good afterwards. Just don't. And then I look up in the sky and I'm like, what? Oh, not again. But it got so bad up here at one point, even the very, very tame community Facebook groups were complaining about them. Like,
oh, wow.
And then, of course, there were some people in there yelling at other people. They don't exist. They're not real. And it was just like, but it's there outside my window right now.
Yeah, and kind of gone back in over old movies and, they've put them in the skies like they've always been here. But it's so crazy. Well, we're almost at the top of the hour, and I can see such a awake, aware audience. We are so lucky here on Mace on Jupiter to have this gorgeous soul tribe. So it'd be interesting to go back in the comments later if you're looking for any tips or things to research more. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about such an interesting subject. And that was really, interesting hearing about the house clearing and things too. I'd love to hear more of your stories around that.
Yeah, well, that's a few. I've got some other ones for next time, including we were clearing someone that hadn't even died out of the house because they're.
Oh, okay. Do you want to share that one quickly before we go? That might be a good one to end on.
Okay, so that one was interesting. No one could sleep in that room. The dog hated it. So they put guests in there, and every guest's like, there's a figure in the wardrobe staring at me. I can't sleep. And the couple that got me in at that point in time didn't believe in any of this stuff. Like, hardcore skeptics. So I spent a week just dealing with the shock that they wanted me to help them find someone and to clear it. But yeah, we worked out it was a great aunt, and it was her piece of furniture, and she was in a nursing home and had dementia. But because her consciousness was fractured, she was actually with a piece of furniture, and she just wanted to look at the grandnieces and nephews and that, but ended up scaring the crap out of everyone because you look into the wardrobe and there's a dark figure staring at you.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, we were able to help kind of reintegrate that a bit more. Now everybody goes in the room, the dog goes in the room, it's all cool. So you don't even have to be passed for that to happen. It can be a fractured consciousness that can create that.
And some people will be, liking that interaction, or they'll want the comfort of company, whether it's positive or negative. Do you think it was maybe pulled in for company?
I think the person was just lonely and wanted to spend time with people. It was just that simple. Unfortunately, that's what happened.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Super interesting. So just a reminder that Evan's got this coming up. So the roundtable, which is live in 21 days. So you might want to hit that notify bell so you don't miss it. It's going to be really, really interesting chat. He also has Forgotten Origin with his beautiful dad, Stephen. So I definitely recommend to sign up to receive the newsletters and follow you guys on Facebook. And please hit that like button and share this with a friend as well. We've got so many interesting shows that we're filming at the moment. Sophie and I have got the 3-card pick. We've got the Divine Feminine. And you've also got the full moon Pisces eclipse also coming up. So this will be a really good one too. And please remember to use the code Jupiter to save 10% on a reading. And I would love to see you guys shortly in a reading as well. So thank you so much for joining us, Ev. And good luck with the ticks and things now that we're going into summer shortly.
Yes, looking forward to that. Sarcasm, but I'll just keep using the essential oils and and I've got some homeopathics now. If I do get bitten, ready in a paper bag, ready to go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Apis is a good homeopathic for bites and stings and things. Oh, good to hear. Well, you enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you so much to our gorgeous soul tribe. And we'll see you guys next week. Thanks, Ev.
Bye.
Bye.